Every year I have students that need me to revisit these concepts, so here we go. Let's see if I can make it into a video so that it's a smooth, one-off, one-take that teachers can use and also my students. Excuse my handwriting, it's not great. We're going to use a example business as a campus coffee cart. There's a reason I am not an English teacher. If I misspell something, that is on me. Let's say that one coffee is our unit that we're using. And so this one coffee costs, let's go with, we'll call it $5. And so what are the things that we're going to need? The variable material expenses. These are the things that are going to change each month. We don't really know how much we're going to need, but later on I'll show you how we use a graph to actually come up with an average amount of units that we sell per month. And so in this case, I'm going to say for the coffee, we need obviously the coffee. So coffee, and I'm actually just going to lump this all together because I'm not going to expand it. Let's go milk and syrup, some kind of flavoring, if you will. And then another material that we would need, we don't know how many we'll use each month, it's variable. And let's go with cups, and we'll also add lids into this section too. I'm going to say that a coffee plus milk plus syrup per unit is $1.50. And we could really get into doing the fine tuning on this and taking fractions of gallons and whatnot, but I don't want to go too deep for this video. So we'll say per cup, and let's say that we do about 500 cups per month. Again, this will get revisited later on. So 500 cups per month. Excuse the limited space here. So if I've got 500 cups and I've got $1.50 per cup, that is going to get me $750 that I need to pay in those material expenses. For the cup and lid, if we have, let's call it 40 cents. Ooh, I should do 50 cents to make it easy, but no, let's just go 40. That's fine. Per every 500 cups that we're selling per month. That would cost me 500 times 40 cents is 200. Also not a math teacher for these reasons too. If I add these two together, $950. But I do teach forms of math in what I call functional math. Now let's talk about fixed expenses. We go through this in the slides. These are things that don't change each month. They're predictable. What do we need for a campus coffee cart? Probably need some kind of a campus permit, depending on what school you work at. Oof, that's an A. Campus permit. And now that we have that campus permit, let's say that it costs $100 a month. I'm sure that goes to the ASB or leadership or something. And then the school says, hey, you're serving coffee, so you need school insurance. Make sure nobody gets hurt or sued for whatnot. Let's call that $50 a month. Total here, $150 in fixed expenses. Obviously, if we're doing a bigger business, then these numbers would be larger. But this gives you just a general idea as to what it is that you would need just to get started. Now that we have this information, we are going to shift over to the economics of 1 unit. 1 unit for us is a cup of coffee. And we said earlier that we're selling this cup of coffee for $5 per unit. And so if we're selling it for $5 per unit, we said that the cost of materials per unit is $1.50 plus 40 cents. That's going to be $1.90 in those materials per unit. And then the cost of labor per unit, ooh, I should do this on a sticky note. In fact, I am looking for one on my table. Haha, success. So let's go sticky note here so that I don't make this confusing. Let's say that it takes, this is probably an overestimate, but I want you to understand it, 3 minutes to make 1 cup of coffee. I would be disappointed in someone taking 3 minutes to make a simple cup of coffee, but that's okay. So 3 minutes per cup. And let's say that the student is somehow earning $10 per hour. Also probably not true because they are a student serving this on campus, but we do need to use an hourly wage. Obviously 10 bucks an hour, depending on where you live, is under the minimum wage. But in this case, we can do some basic math. So if we know it costs $10 per hour for an employee and it's 3 minutes per cup, we can do some quick math here. First thing we need to do is figure out, well, how much are they earning per minute? So let's do $10 divided by 60 minutes. And that is going to equal 0.167 per minute. I did this math beforehand. There's no way I could have done that on my own. If I have 0.167, I'm so sorry, 67, whatever. Anyway, times 3, because that's how long it takes me per minute, right? So if it takes me 3 minutes to make a cup and it costs me 16, almost 17 cents rounded per minute, I can multiply these together and that will leave me with, let's just call it 50 cents per cup of coffee in labor. So that is going to be what goes right here, 50 cents. 0.50. What What are some other variable costs that we would want to consider? And this is going to depend largely on what type of business it is that you're running. Let's say for this type of a thing, we have a card processing fee. So I'll just put that over here, card processing fee. And we'll say that's also 50 cents per swipe. And let's just say that every single student uses that. We obviously know that's not the case, but most students probably will. If we know how much we're selling this for, and we know the cost of materials for each unit, as well as the labor per each unit, and other fees that might be associated with this, if we add all of these up, this is what's called our cost of goods sold, the COGS. And so in this case here, we are going to have $2.90 as our cost of goods sold, our COGS. So if we sell it for $5 and we have COGS of $2.90, that is going to leave us with a profit per unit of $2.10. Now that we have that information, we can actually start to scale this a little bit further. So in my slides, as well as in the notes, and if you're a teacher that's using this information, it's also in the document that you've downloaded. There is a graph. You can click on this graph within your slides or within the notes, and then your students and you can also modify this. Here's where you would enter the different number of units that you're selling each month in anticipation. This is your projection. And because we are a school, realistically, I did not change this for the example, but realistically, we would only operate January, February, March, April, May, June, we would not, July, we would not, August, we would return, September, October, November, and then a partial month in December as well, and a spring break somewhere in here. If we were just going to average this, we would say that we are operating for 10 months. And if we know that we're operating for 10 months, this would mean that we are a seasonal business. I would also think that our sales would be higher in the colder months. So that's just something to keep in mind. On average, let's say that after I've added these all up and I've made my projections, let's say that the average is 500 cups per month. That seems pretty reasonable per month. And so if I'm doing 500 cups per month, and if we know that the total units is how much we're going to do over 10 months, that means that we would be moving 5,000 units, 5,000 individual units. And if we know how much our sales price is, 5,000, I'm going to do this on another sticky note so that I can keep the sheets clean so that students know exactly what to put here. For the gross revenue, if we know that we are moving 5,000 units and we are selling them times $5 per unit, that is going to leave us with 25K in revenue. Revenue is just the sales before any of our COGS come out or anything else here. So let's go $25,000. That's a lot of change there for a school store. And now if we know how many units we sell and we know what our net profit is per unit, again, that $2.10, we're going to take our $2.10, coming back here, I'm going to take my 5,000 units times $2.10. And once again, I did this math beforehand. I don't want you to think that I can just big brain this and do it right off the top of my head. My net profit, when I do that math over there, is going to be $10,500. That's the net profit. So now what we need to start looking at over here is as follows. Check it out. We need to find our monthly fixed expenses, and we did that already. So we did that back here. Our fixed expenses were $150, really not much. That is very low. So if we know what our monthly fixed expenses are, $150, realistically, anywhere else you're going to have probably rent, maybe some salary for employees, other things that do not change. And if we know how much profit per unit it is that we are generating, again, the profit per unit is coming from right here, the $2.10. If I take my fixed expenses divided by my profit per unit, so just make that clean, $150 in fixed expenses per month divided by my profit per unit, what that is going to leave me with now is going to be 71 units to break even. So what does that mean? That means that anytime I sell more than 71 units, I'm now earning profit. I've paid off all of my fixed expenses of $150. Anything below 71 units in a month, and I am not operating at a profit. I'm actually operating at a loss. So in revenue terms, 71 units, and again, this is times our $5 price point, is going to leave us with, we need to sell a minimum of $355 worth of product in order to break even, and everything that we do in excess of that is going to be profit for the business. Now, many of your students, if you're a student out there or a teacher out there, are going to find that when you're doing this math, you're going to say, well, shoot, my break-even units is greater than my average monthly total. And so when that happens, that's when the real business learning happens, because you will need to now adjust something. Maybe you need to increase your sales price. Perhaps you need to find a new supplier. Maybe you need to not have as many employees as you currently have. Maybe you need to stop accepting credit cards, so on and so forth. Something needs to change, and this is where you need to go through. Or in addition to that, perhaps maybe your sales projections need to increase and you need to spend more money on marketing so that you can move more units to actually make up for that loss. All of this would be the starting point, and this is where we would continue to tool around and make those adjustments on the fly with these numbers. And this is how real business concepts happen in the classroom.
Follow me on any of my socials to learn more.